Hello my lovelies and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do another installment of my MCR Basics series. All of them will be in the same place on my channel. If you look at the playlist, there is a sewing basics, and these are tips and tricks that I have for you that apply to multiple projects. So this way I can always refer you to that playlist, or if you're a beginner, it's something you want to go through. We've talked about using pressing interface with a heat press. We've talked about different zippers for bag making. I've also covered how to attach rivets. And today I wanted to talk to you about sewing bags with your sewing machine. As you can see, it's different than my normal setup. I usually am on my industrial, but this time I came to my sewing machine because I have a few tips and tricks that I always mention when I do my sew with me videos, but I just mentioned them. So I wanted to make an actual video where you can get to see everything that I talk about during my sew with me videos. And if you're a beginner and you want to get started into bag making as a hobby and maybe later on as a business, this is something that I do encourage you to watch. I will cover a few different feet, a few different bases of vinyl that you might encounter when sewing bags, and I have a few tips for you. So let's get started. I plan on going through a couple of bases when testing various settings. This way I can show you how they look. The most common, these are all scraps of vinyl. The most common vinyls that you'll encounter are marine vinyl, which is this leather looking like consistency with a little grainage, and the back looks something like this. This is from My Punk Broidery. They're orange vinyl. I mean, it could have another name, but I honestly can't remember the actual name. But My Punk Broidery carries a lot of vinyl options. Then also from My Punk Broidery, I have glitter vinyl, which is thicker than marine vinyl. It has the same backing, but it's definitely much thicker. There's a coating on top and the glitter stays where it's supposed to. There doesn't transfer. So I will run this through as a test. Then I have cork. This is cork from Sew Sweetness that I will run through and give you some tips for using cork. Then I'm going to do another type of marine vinyl. This one is from a shop in the LA Fashion District. I got it from LA last year. But it's thick. It's much thicker than this. So I wanted to show you various thicknesses of marine vinyl and how they take to sewing on a domestic sewing machine. So I'm going to test this one as well to show you in case you have any thicker vinyl. And my favorite out of all, it's the Wizardry Stitchery Waterfall Vinyl. These are from Wizardry, and as always, a link to everything will be in the description of the video. So this is very soft. It feels amazing. Like this would work on apparel fabric. As apparel fabric, it's so soft and nice, and it sews beautifully. But you'll see in just a second. So these are the 5 types of vinyl that I will be going through in this video. First and foremost, I'm using a Baby Lock Elissimo Gold from years ago. It's my love. But all the tips that I'm giving you apply to pretty much any machines, any domestic machines. So I will start by changing my needle. It's important that you start the project with a fresh needle, especially when you're sewing bags, because they go through a lot and a lot of layers and a lot of interfacing. So having a fresh needle will make all the difference. So my preferred needle for sewing vinyl on my domestic machine are Microtex needles. For thicker fabrics, I like leather needles. So this is what I use. For today's demonstration, I'll use the Microtex because it's the one easily used for all of them. So I will go ahead and change my needle. And I will be using for this demonstration just a regular thread. I'm using garment thread. And this is a polyester thread, and I believe is 40 weight. Not sure, but I can double check. Okay, now once you've changed your needle, you would have to change your feet if possible. If you don't have any extra feet, like the ones that I'm going to show you right now, which are a walking foot. Okay, now you can see it. Or a Teflon foot. This is my favorite Teflon foot. This is from Cutex, and I love it on my domestic machine. It's definitely by far my favorite. I had another one which I broke, so I can show you, and I really didn't like that one. Or sometimes I use this roller foot. It has like a little roll here, but it's not my favorite foot to use because those rolls tend to leave marks. You see the real roller here? It glides nicely, but sometimes it tends to leave marks. So this would be my third favorite foot to use on vinyl or cork. So if you have one, you can, but it's not ideal. So I will show you a regular foot, a walking foot, and the Teflon foot. So let's start with the regular foot. Let's assume you don't have any extra feet. You don't want to order them for now. So we'll start testing it on a regular foot. I put my new needle, I put my thread. So now I'm going to grab water-soluble stabilizer. This is my trick, and this is the best trick that I can give you to use when using a domestic machine. Grab yourself a roll of water-soluble stabilizer. This is the Sulky, I think, I got from Joanne. And this is a lifesaver for every time you want to sew with vinyl and your regular foot. And I'll show you. Let's grab the worst one. To me, in my opinion, the worst base to sew on a domestic machine is this glitter vinyl, because it's thick. It's very sticky on the glittery part, and this one tends to not move at all if you put it without stabilizer. So what I like to do is I will put water-soluble stabilizer on the sticky part, and let's say I have to sew two layers together. I have now water-soluble stabilizer both on the bottom, in between the needle plate and the, sorry about the movement. One day I'll invest in a remote for the Zoom. So I have water-soluble stabilizer in between the needle plate and the glitter vinyl, and I also have it in between the presser foot and the glitter vinyl. And watch this. I have my length at 2.5 and my tension at 3.8. And look, no, not even holding hands. It glides like butter. gonna do one more stitch. Look how smooth it goes. And it's all because of the water-soluble stabilizer. These are the stitches. So this is how it looks on the front. See those stitches? And on the back, beautiful tension, beautiful length, 2.5, and the stitches are strong. I didn't backstitch here, that's why. But if you look in the center, see? It doesn't come apart. And I've used my regular foot and water-soluble stabilizer. This is the secret. And I highly encourage you to have a roll of this by your side if you're using a domestic machine. And this is the hardest one to sew, and I'll show you. I'm going to try to sew the same thing without any stabilizer. So now it's sticking to the needle plate, and it's going to be sticking to the foot as soon as I press it down. And you'll see what happens. See, it doesn't move. Remember, 2 seconds ago I didn't even touch it. Now it doesn't move. There's no way. So it won't work. See, I couldn't even get it past one stitch. I have bunching in the back. So yeah, you don't want that. Look what a difference between those two stitches. This is my suggestion every time. Have water-soluble stabilizer with you. So now it's gonna get easier from here on out, because that's the hardest one to sew, honestly. Look, I'm going to do 2 layers of this vinyl. And again, I prefer to put water-soluble stabilizer everywhere where there's vinyl. This side, the wrong side, can be sewn without any stabilizer, water-soluble stabilizer. And this is thick right now. This is the thickest marine vinyl I have. But because I have the stabilizer, it's stitched beautifully. See? And when you're done, you just peel it right off. It's tearaway. Leaves no mark, and if there's any minimal residue like you see here, tiny dot, this one, just get a damp cloth and press it over it. It will disappear because it's water soluble. Let's do a thinner marine vinyl just for the heck of it, but it's obviously that it's not gonna have an issue since the thicker one went just fine. I don't even have to touch it. It goes all by itself. That's how well it glides. So when I tell you guys in my videos that you don't need an industrial machine to treat yourself to a nice handmade bag, you can do it all on your domestic. Boom, done. Let's see, cork. I find cork to be the easiest to sew. It's not vinyl. I did put it in this category, but it's not vinyl. I find that it's the easiest to sew even without stabilizer. But this will also depend on your machine. So for the best results, I would encourage you to use stabilizer on cork as well. My machine doesn't have a problem with cork. But if you find that yours tends to not glide, if you do the no hands ma test and you find that it's not moving, then you would definitely need your stabilizer. Cork, for me, it's the beginner friendliest base to work with when you step up from just woven, interfaced woven. Cork gives you a great look, and it's the easiest to sew with a domestic machine. And last but definitely not least, my favorite, the waterfall vinyl. Oh, it's so beautiful. Same thing, I'll put it to the test with stabilizer where the vinyl is. And I'm doing 2 layers right now. Some domestic machines may be okay with many more layers. Others may not. I believe this, my baby does okay with 4 layers. I wouldn't put her through 8 layers. Let's put it this way. See how beautiful it looks? Look at those stitches. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And so these are 2 layers. I'm going to do 2 more. So I'll do 4 layers right now. And see how that goes. Again, with the stabilizer. The more layer you sew, the slowest I encourage you to go. It is easy to go fast. It's much harder to sew slow, I find. You don't want to mess up your machine timing, and going slow will definitely help you with that. Oh, 4 layers, not a problem in this waterfall. And again, because of the water soluble stabilizer, in a pinch, if you don't have the water soluble stabilizer at home and you want to sew a bag like today, right now I can't take it, a tissue, just a regular tissue, would do the trick. But it's harder to get it out because it's not super water soluble. It will dissolve eventually, but it's gonna be a hassle. So I wouldn't use a tissue as a primary method. But in a pinch, let's say you just ran out of stabilizer and you need one last stitch, you can definitely use it. So I'll show you the tissue method with glitter, which is the worst one. I'm not gonna go through all of them again because glitter is definitely the worst. See, glides with no help. So this is how it looks like on the tissue. So let's remove that. See, it's gonna take much more cleaning. Like, I don't like this if I don't have to. Water soluble stabilizer will clean much neater and much faster. But again, in a pinch, it can be done. See, now I'm gonna have to go and clean all the little remnants here. But again, we'll keep it as a backup. All right, so let's say you have you want to invest in a separate fruit so you don't have to use the water soluble stabilizer. My first choice would be this. This is a Teflon foot, so it will help your fabric glide easier. And this one, this Cutex one, actually has an 1/8 of an inch mark and a 1/4 of an inch mark. So this one works beautifully as a guide as well, I find. I never thought the stickers would give me a focus problem. So 1/8 of an inch and a 1/4 of an inch right there. All right, so let's change that. Double check when you're shopping for Teflon foot like this one. Double check that your machine is a low shank or a high shank. Most domestic machines are low shanks, so this is what I got. You will probably find more high shank on the market, so make sure you check. Those are usually the semi-industrial one, like the Juki TL 2010, I think, I'm not sure, but double check. A regular domestic machine, not a semi-industrial, will be a different height shank than a semi-industrial. So make sure you check in your manual or just Googling what kind of shank your machine has to make sure you order yourself the correct walking foot or Teflon foot, because you can see this one comes off, unlike the regular foot, that just snaps off and this stays on the machine. For the one that I just placed in, the Teflon foot, it has to have the shank changed as well. So I'm tightening this. I'm going to move my needle where the actual groove is, right here. And we're gonna put it to the test. So let's start with the worst one, with the glitter vinyl. And when I say worst, I mean the prettiest, but the hardest one to sew in your domestic machine. Like, I'm not hating on glitter vinyl. I love me some glitter, so when I say worst, I mean worst to sew on a domestic. Okay, so I will fold it. However, because my glitter part also touches the needle plate, it's not probably going to slide as smoothly as I would like it. But we'll try it first with no water soluble stabilizer. So I have my foot down. It glides. It's definitely gliding a lot better than before. But if you find that your machine still doesn't love it, just add water soluble stabilizer on the needle plate. That's all. Not on the foot, because now you have the foot that doesn't require it. But mine seem to do fine, but you can use the soluble stabilizer just between the needle plate and the glittery part. So let me fold another piece again. Nothing on the top. Beautiful. So the Teflon foot works great on glitter vinyl. You see right here, and then I can remove this part. It looks very good. So this is my second favorite, well, my first favorite option, my second favorite, because sometimes I just prefer to use water soluble stabilizer because it's easier than to change all the feet. I'm going to go ahead and test this right now with let's say cork, because I just grabbed it. So I'll do cork, and I'll do 4 layers of cork this time. So I have 2 folded here from before, and I'll put 2 more folded here. So I'll have 4 layers of cork, like you usually use that for straps. I love cork. Look how easy it goes, and there's no water soluble stabilizer. And now I'm going through just 2 layers. I'm not even touching it. So now you can see the cork through 4 layers. See, here I have 4 layers, and here I have 2. Beautiful both ways. Look at this tension on the back. Look how pretty. And it's all because of the Teflon foot. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, let's do marine vinyl, the thinner marine vinyl. And again, I'm gonna do 4 layers now. I have 2 here. I'm gonna fold this again twice. 1, 2. Oh no. Let me just put 2 on top of each other because it's easier than making this fan. Okay, so now I have 2 layers here, 2 layers here. I'm just gonna put them on top of each other, just like you would create a strap. And again, no water soluble stabilizer, just my Teflon foot. And let's see. Not a problem gliding through it. I came here a little bit too far off, so I'm going to lift the needle and make sure that the presser foot is on the vinyl. And as you can see, no hands, it glides like butter. Beautiful. You can see the stitches on the back. You can see the stitches on the front. Absolutely gorgeous. And as far as strength, I would encourage maybe to do 2 lines of stitching, one next to the other for additional strength, but this will work. And I'm using a regular apparel thread. If you're using your Tex 45, they will be even stronger because it's thicker. Okay, and the last one that I'm going to test is my thick marine vinyl. So I'm gonna do this, the same thing. I'm going to take these 2 layers and then fold another 2 layers here, and I have 4 layers now. And see how it goes. And this is the thickest marine vinyl that I have. And again, Microtex needle makes a huge difference. A Microtex needle has a very sharp point, so it punctures the fabric super easy. Okay? No hands. Beautiful. And this is big. Look how thick this is. There you go. Beautiful tension on the back. I'm using 2.5 and 4 tension right now. Just my regular standard stitch. 2.5 and 4 tension. Absolutely gorgeous. And the last base that I'm going to test is the Wizardry Waterfall Vinyl. I'm just folding 4 layers together. So 4 layers of vinyl. No water soluble stabilizer. Beautiful. Okay? It does all the work. It glides so easily. Gorgeous. These are 4 layers right now. All right, so this is the Catex low shank or high shank. I need to double check, I can't remember, but I will put a link in the description. I got these on Amazon, I believe, so I will link it. I'll find it in my purchases on Amazon and I will link it so you can see exactly which one I got. But I know it's a Catex brand because you can find them everywhere. And you can see it works beautifully. The only one that I would still use water soluble stabilizer between the needle plate and the vinyl is the glitter one, because that's the stickiest out of them all. But the rest of them work beautifully even without it. My favorite foot, this one is the one. Let's say your machine already came with a walking foot like mine did, and you don't want to invest in another foot, although between you and I, this one was like $8, I think. It's totally worth it. But let's say you don't want to do that. Let's put the walking foot to the same test, if I find my screwdriver, and see how that goes. So I'm going to remove this foot right now. I'm keeping my Microtex needle inside the machine. And I'm just going to put the walking foot. What a walking foot does, it tells the machine to move the top layer and the bottom layer at the same speed. A regular foot will move the bottom layer a smidge faster than the top layer of the fabric. When you have 2 fabrics, the bottom moves faster than the top. A walking foot will change that. Both top and bottom layer will move at the same time. That's why it's a favorite for a lot of sewists, this walking foot. And it's a favorite when you're sewing minky, because it has a slight or neat fabric, because as soon as the bottom one feeds at a different speed, it starts to stretch. So that's why a walking foot is very helpful when sewing neats or minky. To install it, you'll be doing the same thing as before, putting the correct part of the shank in here, but you also need to make sure that this piece right here, let's see if I can get the focus correct there. You can see this little bar here that moves up and down, up and down. This one goes in here. You see this bar on the machine? This goes in here. So then you want to tighten it. And as opposed to the foot I just used before, the Teflon foot, with this one you can do zigzag stitches, you can do other styles because it has a bigger opening here. Okay, so my little hand there, I'm sure it has a proper name, but I call it a little hand, grabbed on this like so. The shank is screwed in tightly, so let's give it a try. And we'll start with the wizardry one. Let me do 2 layers like this, because I have white in my bobbin, so you can see the bobbin thread. A walking foot will make a different noise, because it clinks like right here. And so it's a more noisy foot than a regular foot. So you could see 2 layers went beautifully, no problem. This is the bobbin thread, the white one. And this right here is the top thread, not a problem. Let's do the 4 layers right now. I pressed my fabrics in 2, both of them. And now I'm doing 4 layers without any hands. And it goes very smoothly. And there you go. Looks absolutely gorgeous. And again, I'm a 2.5 and 4 tension. If you feel like you need to play with the tensions, you can, because it also depends on the actual machine, not just the needles and the feet and the fabric. So some machines may require you to play a little bit with the tension and the stitch length, but I wouldn't go for construction more than 3 for the length, just to give it strength. This is 2.5. I would do 3 for top stitching and even 4 for top stitching. Beautiful. So this is covered. Let's see the big layers, the thick layers of the vinyl. And we'll start with the 4 directly and see how it does. I'm going slow so you can see, and again I encourage you to go slow when you sew vinyl or leather on your domestic machine. Give it a fair chance. This is how the stitches look. This is with the walking foot. So this is my stitch with the walking foot, this is my stitch with the Teflon foot. I prefer it with the Teflon foot, honestly. They're similar, but if you look super closely, I prefer the Teflon foot than the walking foot. And this is the back, this is the walking foot, this is the Teflon foot. Very nice together, 4 layers of thick marine vinyl. This is much thicker than the one you get at Joann's or I have from My Punk Embroidery. Okay, this is the My Punk Embroidery vinyl. Again, let's do 4 layers. Because if 4 layers work, then 2 work for sure. Beautiful. So you can work with it. There you go. Last one. Oh, last one and my least favorite. Let's do the glitter vinyl. And let me cut it up a little bit. I'm going to try 4 layers and go wild, although I know it might not like me very much. So this is again glitter vinyl, which is a little thicker and very sticky. I'll fold 2 layers here and I'll put my 2 layers on top, so I have 4 layers of glitter vinyl. I can sense it from here, it doesn't like it. It gets stuck to the plate there. So I'll do my water soluble stabilizer on the bottom. Okay, it's not bad. It works. But again, with the water soluble stabilizer between the needle plate and the vinyl, just because it's so sticky. Gorgeous. So there you have it. You cannot tell me you can't make a bag just because you have a domestic machine. So, and you cannot tell me you cannot make a vinyl bag because you have a domestic machine. I'm not gonna deny that for a second, because after all I did buy an industrial. It's much easier when you have an industrial and you don't have to change feet or many things. But the industrial machines take a lot of space. They only do straight stitches. So if you have the extra cash and the space, definitely grab an industrial. But if you don't, it's not mandatory to have one to treat yourself to a bag in your favorite vinyl and a custom bag that not many people can say they made. So this is this video is mainly to convince you that it can be done. You can do it, and you just need to grab a roll of water soluble stabilizer. I swear I have no connection with sulky whatsoever, but this thing is lifesaver. These things can help you use your good old machine with the vinyl without investing in any other feet or any other contraptions. So I'm going to use the roller just to show you how it works, although I'm telling you it's not a favorite of mine. So I'll do the roller on the vinyl, which is like medium. It's not cork, that it's easy, and it's not glitter that is the worst. So I feel like marine vinyl is somewhere in between the easy cork and the least easy to work with glitter vinyl. Look carefully at this little metal roller here. As it sews, it rolls and it feeds the fabric easily. So it works very well. Again, a backup. Actually, if I look at it, if I look at the stitches closely, I prefer the roller one on marine vinyl than the walking foot. On the, at least on the back stitches, I feel like it doesn't show the stitches from the front at all, whereas this one you can see a smidge, tiny smidge. I don't know how well you can see it on camera. So I prefer the roller right now for this, but I found that the roller sometimes leaves marks, which I wasn't a fan of. I guess it does depend on the fabric you're using. There you go. So this is with the roller foot with 2 layers, and let's do 4 layers. and see how it does. It moves harder. It's harder to move it on 4 layers. I can feel, and see, it doesn't really like 4 layers. And I'll show you how you can tell. You see the stitches? This is not a good stitch on the end, this one. This is not a good stitch. It's too tight. It's supposed to be just like the one next to it. See? This stitch is supposed to be just like this one on 4 layers, and it's definitely not. This is too tight, which means the fabric was pulled and wasn't moving, so the stitches got super close together. It's not right, so you don't want it to look like this. That's why the roller foot is unreliable in my situation. This is how it's supposed to look like, and this is done with this is just the 2 layers. See, the 2 layers and the 4 layers should look the same, and they don't. So that one is a third option, only if you have to use it because you already have it in your stash. So I think I got over everything that I wanted to talk to you about. The last thing that I wanted to mention, it's a tip that I have for you. If you find that when you go over seams, it's a little more difficult than when you sew the regular parts of the bag, I would encourage you to take a little mallet, you know, the rubber mallets that you can buy at hardware stores or sewing stores, and just smack the seams a little bit on the back side, not on the front side of the constructed bag, and that will press the seams a little bit more, so this way they're slightly flatter, and the flatter they are, the easier they are to sew. So I would take a mallet here and smack that very well at the seams, again on the wrong side, always on the wrong side, and I do suggest you put like a cloth on top just in case. But I honestly have never felt the need to do that, but I know a lot of people do, and it's worth a try if you feel that your machine is giving you a hard time when going over thicker seams. But other than that, I hope I've convinced you that you can sew vinyl, all kinds of vinyl and cork with your domestic sewing machine and get beautiful results. And I encourage you to sew bags with me. I'll be back hopefully this week with another sew with me, either a dress that I'm making with some strikes or a little bag. We'll see. I haven't decided yet which one I'm going to do this week. Thank you so much for watching me. Thank you for subscribing and supporting me all the time. All the likes count and I see them, and I love reading your comments, so I do encourage you to comment, like, and share. And I will see you back here in my next one. Bye.